This is my video for Sprint 2 of Game Engine programming. Starting off with the game class, it has now been converted into a singleton, so looking at the header file, we have the pointer instance as well as the functions set to default, and then the resources or services provided by the game class are private with these public accessors to access them, and then the game engine run has been set into a function that can be called to start the run from main. And there's also a Atlas initialize function which will be called inside of the actual game.cpp inside of initialize, which exists in the resources folder so that the user can define their own initialize values, setting the window name, height, and color. But looking at the game.cpp, all of the demo related code has been removed. Just have the load functions for all the managers, a scene manager that will load the start level, which if we look at scene manager is another singleton instance that contains a scene pointer for the current scene, and a function to set the start scene and get the current scene, and a load start level. And the load start level exists within the load all resources file down here at the bottom, which allows the user to declare the start scene for the start of the game. And then going back to the game, we have the camera manager initialize and the scene manager initialize, which the camera manager is another singleton instance that contains a pointer to the current camera as well as a default camera and an initialize function. And when initialize is called, a standard camera will be created, which is the default, and it will be set as the current, and the current camera can be fetched using the get current camera function. And then we also have the scene.h, which is just a simple header file with an initialize, draw, update, and scene and function that are used by scene manager. So down in the user code, there's scenes and game objects. Within the scene, we just have a demo level, which has the frigate, plane, and axis game objects forward declared and pointers to each of them. And in the demo level, we will create a new instance of each game object, and then we will call update on just the ship, and then we'll call draw on the ship, the plane, and the axis, and then we do scene cleanup. Then in the actual game object, we have the drawable header, which just has draw, updatable with update, and then game object derives from drawable, updatable, and align 16 with draw and update. So if we run this, game will launch, and we have the ship on the plane, which can be moved with the controls, and if we press spacebar we can see the bounding sphere. But looking at the frigate game object inside of game objects, you can see that it has an update, a draw, as well as a graphics object for the frigate and the bounding sphere. And then inside of the update, we can see the controls for the movement, as well as turning the bounding sphere on and off with the spacebar. And inside the draw, we will render both objects to the current camera by fetching it from the camera manager, and we will do cleanup on each of the graphic objects whenever the game object is deleted by NC. But that is everything.